Both banks of the Chambal River, on the border of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, are crisscrossed with ravines, formed by the natural erosion of the loose soil typical to this area. This is a vast network of inhospitable canyons and gorges, a gigantic maze. The Chambal Badlands, the perfect hideout for gangs of dacoits, where even police forces feared to tread. These desperados knew the lay of the land. Vigilant, armed, and ready to take down intruders. They ruled the roost till the early 21st century, when the law caught up with them. One of the last of the infamous bandit leaders was Nirbhay Singh Gurjar. He operated near the village of Morena. One of his favorite hideouts was the ruins of an ancient temple complex. Deep in the Chambal Valley, these are the temples of Bateswara, a name derived from Bhuteshwar, a form of Shiva, the destroyer. The lost temple complex consisted of almost 200 sandstone structures, possibly the largest number of temples at any one spot in India. The first of these structures was built almost 1300 years ago by the Gurjara Pratihara dynasty. Over the next 200 years, more temples were added. At its peak, the Gurjara Pratihara kings created an empire that stretched from Gujarat to northern Bengal. They built the Bateswara group of temples about 35 kilometers north of Gwalior and about 30 kilometers east of Morena town. But Bateswara was doomed. In the 13th century, a devastating earthquake flattened the place. The ruins became a mystical spot, avoided by most, except the dacoits of the Chambal.
It had a mystery of its own. It was breathing some kind of spirit. But the question is how to get into that place and how to carry out the conservation work. Neither the local people nor the government had the courage to do it.
But Nirbhay Gurjar and his men were as God-fearing as they were dangerous. Despite their crimes and killings, the outlaws revered the ancient ruins and its deities. Nirbhay Gurjar and his men were worshippers of Shiva. Their devotion became Bateswara's protection.
They actually conserved and preserved those temples. And especially you have beautiful pieces of Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, all the goddesses and goddesses there. If they were not there, all these beautiful sculptures and icons would have been taken by smugglers. So in fact, it was because these people were there, all these monuments, all these sculptures were also protected.
Built around a kund or water body, most of the temples at Bateswara are dedicated to Shiva, Vishnu and Shakti. Some are small, at only 5 feet. Others stand over 50 feet high. By the 10th century, Bateswara was a cluster of some of the most beautiful temples in India. But after the earthquake, it was reduced to rubble, and restoration was fraught with danger. In 2005, a channel of communication was established with the dacoits. Representatives of the Archaeological Survey of India arranged meetings at the bandit hideout in the Bateswara ruins. They had entered the lion's den to meet the fearsome Nirbhay Singh Gurjar. The officials assured the dacoit that their intentions were only to restore the sacred temples. They meant no harm to him and his men. Gurjar agreed to allow the experts in. Perhaps he knew that his days as a dacoit would end soon. and he was atoning for past sins. The bandit leader had given his word. Now the conservation of Bateswara could begin. Restoring the temples was a challenge like no other. The complex was a pile of shattered stones, a gigantic jigsaw puzzle. How would the archaeological team do it? Where would they begin?
I just looked back and I saw some of the stones lying there, but these were unusual stones. Then we saw a small pillar base, and the pillar was lying just by the side of it. So that gave us the initial clue. This is the temple entrance gate.
And so it began. 1,000-year-old stone slabs, pillars, and idols were matched to corresponding temples. That done, the reassembly of the structures would take place. Bit by bit, the lost temples began to reappear.
One day I was moving from one place to another place, and in one of the temples I saw a man smoking. I became angry and I asked him, "Are you not ashamed of smoking in a temple area?" He looked at me very seriously.
The superintending archaeologist was unaware that he was ticking off none other than the dreaded Nirbhay Singh Gurjar.
For the first time I realized that I am in front of the most wanted dacoit of the area.
The situation could rapidly go out of control.
And then I said that God has sent you with some purpose. He became very curious. What is that purpose? And then I said, "Sir, your name is Nirbhay Singh Gurjar, which means you belong to that great Gurjar Pratihara dynasty, and it is exactly because of this thing God has sent you for the protection of this site." So that was ultimately how I could win the trust of these people.
It's taken 8 years to restore about 80 of Bateswara's temples. While the temples have found a new lease of life, the days of the dacoits have ended, hunted down one by one.
And finally, our friend Nirbhay Singh Gurjar, he was also shot dead. And that was a very bad moment for us. He had met with his fate for whatever he had done earlier. But at the same time, we all felt really sorry for that.
The temples of Bateswara are forgotten no more. They are among India's great treasures. As the restoration continues, more temples shall emerge from the scattered stones, perhaps revealing new facts about our past.